Hi everyone. Today we have a special. I'm going to show you how I use Nimbata to track all leads with one of the websites. I've set it up and share with you 6 or 7 features that I use on a daily basis. So if you're ready to go, let's get to it. I'm going to start out just by summarizing my setup. So I'm going to go to tracking numbers, and here you'll see I have a fairly simple setup. So I have a pool of numbers, 2 numbers that swap on my website to all visitors and have Nimbata attribute that back to the session that drove it. And then I have a bunch of static numbers. One I use in my newsletter, the other in my Google Ads account, one plugged into my Google My Business account, an Instagram ad I'm running, which I'm statically placing it on the copy, a flyer, a radio ad, and a TV ad, right? And all these numbers actually route calls to my destination. So I've set up a simple call flow. It's currently routing to voicemail, and then I've installed the tracking code on my website by swapping this number with one of the tracking numbers. So let's perform a live test. I'm gonna emulate a visit from Google Ads. So I have the link here, and then paste it. This lands on my website, and you'll notice that Nimbata swapped the number here. So let's say that I want to call this number, right? So let's give this a call. Listening to the voicemail. So I'm just going to leave a text voicemail. Thank you, Demitrios. I think you have a great website. I want to get in a call with you to discuss about you managing my Google Ads. And that's it. So let's close this window and let's head back to Nimbata and see what happens. So I'm a big fan of the activity call section, which gives me a raw view of my data. So here I can see the actual call that has been made, right? So this was me. I have a dummy name, MNR Associate, the times I've called, the duration of the call. And as I scroll further to the right, you'll notice that I was able to get the attribution for the call I made. So this call came from Google Ads, CPC, PMAX. It's recorded, came from Boston, and then Nimbata was actually able to attribute the call back to the page that drove it and the click ID. Now you see 2 records because before I recorded this video, I already had made a test call for you guys to be here. So we have some, but the idea is that all of your calls will start viewing and will start populating here with the attribution. Now, even if I wasn't from a Google Ads account, Google Ad click, and if I came in organically or if I came in directly, because I'm browsing, because I've set up my account to track calls for all visitors, Nimbata would attribute that as well. So I would have a nice view here of which sources are actually driving calls. The next thing I want to show you is the views. So these are 3 default views here I have. So I'm a big fan of creating new views in order to tailor the view and only have the information that I want to see in a quick way. So I can click on add view, create a new one, name it. I'm going to name it attributed calls because I only want calls that have a gclid in them. So by default, Nimbata will tell me, you selected 41 columns. I don't really want all these, so I'm only going to keep the date, the time, the outcome, the caller, and then maybe the duration. Don't need all these destinations. I'm going to keep the UDM source medium campaign, then not the digits. Don't care about the recording or the transcription, the whispers, country, state. I'm going to leave the call tag, rating, leave the value, the page, of course. And here you can see how many details you can actually get from the call. I'm going to leave the click ID because this is the gclid. Don't care about the device type or the recording link or the call ID or the digit pressed. So I'm going to click on next. And then Nimbata will tell me, okay, what options do you want in this view? So again, I want to show the column filters. I want to be able to share this with my team. I want to be able to edit the tags inline. And then I want to be able to do that by expanding the row. So I'm going to click on finish. And this creates a new view that's called attributed call view, right? And you see how simple this is. It only contains the data I want, right? And because I only want to show the click IDs here, I can create a filter where click ID is not empty, and click on apply, right? And this will only show under the attributed call view the calls that have a click ID, right? So I want to save this. And each time I log into Nimbata, I can have, of course, the old call view, but then I can have the attributed call view, right? Here is another feature that maybe some of you haven't yet discovered, and it's called the visitor timeline. So if you click on this little icon here, you'll find which pages your callers saw before they initiated a phone call. And to take it a step further, okay, this is a very dummy visitor timeline because I only visited 2 views. Remember, I had made a phone call prior to the one that we made live here. But you can click on the open timeline. This will open a new window. And here you can actually click on this little triangle here, which will expand the call. And while you're listening, you can update the call, right, with values, notes, and whatever other type of information you need for your calls. And this will also update here the activity call section. So if you haven't done so, another thing that I would highly recommend is creating tags for your calls. And you can use these tags either manually or you can use them to automate tagging of calls. Now, I've created 3 tags here. If the call was a conversion, if I need to follow up, or they dialed by mistake. You can also create new tags like support call or other tags that meet your needs. They can even be product specific. So once I have those tags in here, the simplest way would be to go here to the attributed call, listen to the recording, or if I remember what happened, I can actually mark this as a conversion, right? Or I can mark this one as a follow-up, right? Now, there's a second way that you can do this, and this is through something called automation rules. And automation rules are something that really unties your hands, right? So you want to place some automation rules in your account so you don't have to manually tag some calls. The way to do that would be, let's create an automation rule, auto tagging, right? First and foremost, I need to create a trigger which tells Nimbata which call should be automatically tagged. Select the tag, and I'm going to select the tag conversion. Okay, so I need to tell Nimbata which calls Nimbata should automatically tag as a conversion, and this only can be done through a trigger, right? If I select after every call, Nimbata will go after every call and automatically update, tag the call with a conversion. I don't want that. I want to create a new trigger and name it, I don't know, converted calls, right? And my dummy criteria here for converted calls would be if the call outcome was actually no, if the call seconds is more than, I don't know, 120 seconds, like I talked to the person for 3 minutes, that's a good indication for me that we spent a lot of time and the Google ad resulted in a fruitful discussion. So it really works for me. And I can save this, right, and have the converted calls trigger. So I'm going to go back to automation rules and say, you know what, whenever you find, I need to create this again, auto tag calls, and select the newly created trigger, converted calls, and then say, whenever these criteria are met, actually tag the call with a conversion, and click on save. Now that's it. Each time a call is placed and the criteria are met, Nimbata will automatically tag this with a conversion. And to take it a step further, I can even tell it to assign an average order value if I know the average order value of my my bookings, right? So tag the call and also apply a value. The next feature I want to show you here are actually the reports that you can get all this nice information from these reports. We have some nice filters here that you can slice and dice the data, and the drop down here, which tells you exactly how many calls you get from each source. I really like the UDM source medium report here that tells me exactly how many calls I get from each source that I've placed calls. And you can see here, flyers have given me 5 calls, the email newsletter 2 calls, and then my Google CPC actions have driven 9 calls, and then I can see which ones of them are new clients, which of them are repeat, and so forth. Missed calls is another great one. If I'm driving leads and I'm not picking up the calls, I can find here who called and then call them back. Compare periods allows me to compare what I've done between 2 periods, and the call outcomes tells me which time of the day and what days are working best for me. So I get a good understanding of how my Google ads are performing, because I can filter this only with UDM source medium Google ads, or I can see which times of day my visitors are actually calling me back. All of these reports are great, but I really, really love the fact that I can create a unique dashboard, a single dashboard where all of the reports that I actually use are placed under a single roof, right? So what I can do in this case is I can click on add, find the report that I want to add. Let's go with the one that I liked here. So let's go with bar chart, and then by UDM source, click on add. This will add the report here on the bottom, right? I can resize this. I can move it to the place I want. And once I'm happy with this, then this will act as my main gateway to find what's happening with my calls on a daily basis. So I don't have to go through all of these reports. I can view them under a single roof here. And of course, yeah, you're going to be tailoring them and setting them up in a more beautiful fashion than what I've done for this demo, yes. The next thing I want to show you is the integrations with especially with Google Ads and Google Sheets. So the Google Ads integration is the most important one for me. If you're spending if you're investing money in Google Ads and you have a monthly spend, you want those G-clids to be sent back to Google Ads. So whenever somebody calls you, Nimbata grabs that G-clid, you want to have that G-clid sent back to Google Ads. The process is really, really simple. I mean, we do have guides on the website. You sign in with your Google account, and then you create a conversion in Google Ads, and then simply link this conversion with Nimbata. So I've logged in here. My ads account is this one, and I've created a phone call conversion, and that's it. Now, the beauty here is that you can also set the trigger. So you can have all G-clids sent back to Google Ads if you select the after every call trigger, but you can also create multiple conversions, right? You can add a new conversion, create a new conversion here in your account and plug that in, and then assign a newly created trigger. So I haven't created this one. Let's use this one for the time being, but you can create a new trigger, and maybe it could be the converted calls one. So I can create a primary and a secondary conversion in Facebook. My primary conversion could be the converted calls, which already have the value, and I can include the call value. So essentially what Nimbata will do is it will go and grab, remember the automation rule we set up, it will automatically set up a value in my calls, and then I can set up a trigger here that whenever a value is present, value greater than 1, okay, name this calls with value, save, and then head back to Google Ads, and in the newly created conversion, I can set up the calls with value. And this will automatically send all the G-clids along with the value back to Google Ads. And that's really, really amazing because the algorithm can really do wonders once it has the value. So triggers and automation rules work hand by hand along with integrations and make your life much, much easier. The second integration I really like to use with my clients is the Google Sheets integration. Now, Google Sheets allow you to share that sheet with your client, and because in most of the cases when you're driving leads to your client is the only one who knows exactly if the call resulted in a sale. right? So the first way to do it, it would be to invite your customer to Nimbata and have them update the value manually, like in the way I showed you on the activity call section. But a lot of clients, are on their day-to-day job. They're either lawyers, or plumbers, or electricians. They don't want to have to do this on a daily basis. What you can do in this case, because you really, really want to get that information, is tell them, you know what, we're going to set up a Google Sheet. The Google Sheet will update in real time, and there you can find who called you, what time of day they called, and all I want from you is just to plug in the value if that call resulted in a booking, right? So here you just sign in with your Google account again, continue, allow, and then all you need to do is select the drive folder, right, where the G Sheet will be located. Type the name. You can have an existing name, or you can type a new name, calls for clients, and click on create. But before you do so, you would need to set up what information this Google Sheet will contain, right? So you want to make this as simple as possible. So date, the time, the outcome, the caller ID, how many times they've called, the duration, and then I'm going to be removing these because I only want my client to see the source, maybe the medium, the campaign. Don't really care about the country, the pages, the state, and the city. So only 9 columns are enough, and click on create. So this will create the Google Sheet. Then you can go and share that Google Sheet with your client, right? And your client can go and update the value on that sheet. And then you can grab that sheet, set up a Zapier automation or any other type of automation, then upload the G-CLIDs as manual offline conversions, as offline conversions Google Ads. That works as well, really, really well, if you don't go through the automation rule, or if you don't go through the route of having them update the calls in Nimbata. Now, the last tool that I want to share with you is the one located here under Google Analytics. Remember that we need a pool of numbers to get good attribution. I always want to be on top. I always want to know that I have 100% attribution with Nimbata. So the pool checker here is my friend in need. And the way this works, if you don't already know this, is that you can sign in with your Google account, give temporary access to Nimbata for 5 minutes, and then plug in here your Google Analytics, your client's Google Analytics account, select the property, tell them how many days back you wanted to ping, excuse me, and click on calculate pool. And what this will do is it will get your client's information. It will find out the peak visitors during an hourly time frame, let's say between 12 and 1. Calculate how many time they spend on your website roughly. So it's roughly 7 minutes. Do a little bit of math and tell you, you know what? It seems like at your highest peak, you have 19 concurrent visitors browsing your website. So if you want 100% attribution at that given point in time, you need 19 numbers. Now, disclaimer here, I tell it to a lot of customers, that doesn't mean that your website will always have 19 concurrent visitors. Typically, you would have less, like 5, 6, 7, or 8. But if calls are coming through at your highest peak, then if you have less number than the one that Nimbata suggests here, you have a risk of misattributing the call there. For those who don't track calls for all visitors on the website, you also have a breakdown here per source, right? So if you only have a pool of numbers for Google Ads, all you need is 2 numbers, because Google Ads is driving less traffic, right? And it has visitors here tend to spend less time than the total ones, so you only need 2. And the neat thing here is that you can have multiple pool of numbers for channels, right? You can have a pool of numbers for Google Ads, you can have a pool of numbers for Facebook, and so forth, if you don't want to swap the calls to all visitors on your website. The final feature I want to show you is something called custom properties here. So custom properties allow you to create new properties for your call data, right? And those can be text, number, Boolean, or date. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you're running branded campaigns on Google Ads, right? So I'm going to name this is brand. Oops. And create a new property with a Boolean value. Create. Is brand Boolean. Okay? Now, the is brand field will start showing in my calls. So if you click here on the actions, edit columns, you'll now notice that you have this is brand where you can actually include it in your view, right? And is brand, right? Checked or not checked. And you can, this will tell me if I'm going to be using this custom property, if I want to know if the campaign was a branded campaign or not, right? And I can see that through the UDM campaign field. So I may want to mark it for my specific reasons. And I can take it a step further and create an automation rule that when the UDM campaign equals brand, then check this as is brand automatically. So with this way, my reports can be really easily filter, and they can filter out the branded campaigns, and you can start viewing here in the analytics report only the calls that are resulted from non-branded campaigns. That's a very nice feature that you can include in your reports. So that's all for now. That's all from me. That's how I use Nimbata. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Take care.